Hey guys, and welcome to today's episode of the Owl Empire podcast. Today, I had the pleasure of interviewing my man, Hunter Gaylor, a businessman with many achievements under his belt, including currently operating a private aviation company, servicing billionaires and politicians all around the world. So as always, I recommend you guys to open a notepad and write down the valuable lessons that you take from listening or watching this episode. We had a really great conversation and talked about what it takes for you to find a purpose in what you do, professionally or personally, and what it takes to find real success in life. Also, how the current society is today and how to make the world a better place. So I truly appreciate you guys for stopping by and listening to this episode, and I hope you guys enjoy. Welcome to today's episode of the Owl Empire podcast. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Today we are sitting with my man, Hunter Gaylor. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on the show, my man.
Anytime.
Yeah. So why don't you start off by telling the audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, and we'll go from there.
So, first of all, thanks for doing this. I like the podcast. I like the direction it's going. I think
appreciate the support, man.
I think it's pretty exciting to see what you're doing. I love supporting, good people.
Thank you.
So, as you said, my name is Hunter Gaylor, and I'm in the aviation business, both sell and charter airplanes, amongst other business endeavors from manufacturing to beverage distribution to insurance, things like that. So yeah, that's kind of an all-around businessman, I guess.
Interesting. And how long have you been in the whole entrepreneurship field?
Well, I would say probably the day I came out of the womb. I've always been very entrepreneurial since I was a little kid. I come from a small business family. They started with nothing and kind of created a nice little small business of their own in the insurance space. So we've been able to do a lot in our community in Florida and start slowly expanding that, step by step, day by day, but all through hard work and determination. So I was raised with kind of the principles of entrepreneurship and business and kind of overcoming trials and tribulations. But, outside of that, it probably started at a very young age.
Now, what did you, did you have to start all of this on your own? This is your own thing, or?
Well, first of all, I don't think you start anything on your own,
yeah.
Right? Anyone that says, oh, I'm self-made, I'm like, no, I can understand where the sentiment comes from, and I'm a big fan of that. But, I think that everyone attributes their success to something, or they'll attribute, what they have to someone.
Okay.
Or a group of people, right? I mean, I could attribute some of the stuff I do because I'm sitting here doing a podcast with you, right? So, I mean, it's mutual support. It's teamwork makes the dream work. You've heard that saying before.
Definitely, yeah, 100%.
And so there's a lot of truth in that. So it's a lot in collaboration, mentorships, and, if people don't believe in you, it's hard to kind of get places. But if people do believe in you, it helps you get places.
What do you think the key is to getting people to believe in your vision?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily the vision you may have, right, that I have. I share a lot of people's visions, right? I mean, I have my own moral compass that I have that drives me in a certain direction that says, this is good, this is bad, this is the way you should go, this is the way you shouldn't go. Regardless, you may, have little mistakes here and there, but at the end of the day, it's through good mentorship, it's through good collaboration, and it's through a lot of listening and not a lot of talking.
Interesting.
So,
I like that you say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't you take me back now to your school time? Like where did you go for education? Did you graduate?
Sure. So I have a kind of a unique educational background, not as traditional as many people would think, but I started off in my kind of former years as I went to a private Christian school, and then from there, I transitioned into a military prep school. So I went right into the kind of a junior ROTC program. So we had to wear uniforms every day. It was very regimented, very strict, very regimented and very strict.
Did you do this because you wanted to, or is this something your family?
No, I was very passionate about it.
Really?
I still am very, very, passionate about, the military and what we do here as a country. The majority of my family is in the military or has served in the military. My grandfather was the Air Force attaché to Africa during the Cold War. My aunt was a flight attendant for Pan American Airlines. My My other grandfather was a colonel in the Army and flew helicopters. So I have we have a cousin that's the commander of Top Gun right now. So kind of like extended family that's in the military. My sister's going to fly for the Navy. So
kind of runs in the whole family.
Wings and flying have always been in the family. So I was in high school and I military prep school, and I really wanted to go into the aviation space. I really wanted to go fly, fighter jets like Tom Cruise and Top Gun off of carriers.
It's funny you said Tom Cruise because you literally remind me of him. Like you have.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Tell Tom that. So, but no, I've always been interested in aviation. I've always been interested in flight, and I guess you could say that's kind of the birthplace because if you go back and you look at Kitty Hawk and you look at the Wright brothers, I mean these were bicycle mechanics that made flying machines.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, think about that for a second, right? Like you have two bicycle mechanics that are brothers, right? And they're like, I dream of flight, and they failed like thousands upon thousands of times, but they built it, and that was kind of like the birthplace of flight and what we have now. And many, many years later, you have an industry in technology and innovation that has literally connected the globe.
Yeah.
Like connected the globe. You can get on an airplane from Miami and you can fly to Tokyo. You can get on an airplane from LA and you can fly to New York, right? Aviation makes the world a smaller place, right? So it helps create, and foster better relations with people.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. And so would you say this passion for aviation came because of your family, the way you grew up, or is this something that was in you ever since you were a kid?
Well, I think it's just innately. It's always been in me. I mean, I went to space camp when I was a little kid.
Okay.
So I did that. And actually my mentor that I have now was a big contributor to NASA and into like space camp and everything. Really kind of have you dream about what's possible and then I applied to Annapolis. I didn't get into the Naval Academy. I really wanted to get into the Naval Academy. I didn't get in, and then my uncle taught up at a school in Boston, and so he helped me kind of form a academic path up in Cambridge. And ended up getting an undergraduate degree in liberal arts from the extension school at Harvard, and it was really good. I did a joint program. It was fantastic. I have a lot of stories. I was written about in the Crimson, which is our campus newspaper.
Wow, okay.
And doing a lot of stuff. So then I very much got exposed to the business community, but aviation always was kind of in the background, right? Business, aviation, anything that gives you wings, I'm all about.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's airplanes or rocket ships or you name it.
So we got this beautiful baby in the background, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's definitely an inspiration. I will say that. I mean, I think a lot of people, like I said, they do a lot of talking, they don't do a lot of listening, but it requires a lot of hard work, a lot of attention to detail, and a lot of knowing your products.
Interesting. And when did you start this business? When did this come to life?
So this has been, I've been working on it for a while. My family's been in the insurance business for, since I was born.
Okay.
So.
And how old are you?
I'm 28.
28.
Yeah, 28.
Wow.
So, they've built a nice little business, but one of the things they specialize in is in aviation insurance, and so it's always been there. But what I'm doing now is through a series of technology companies I had started, and mentorships, and then just kind of working to make it happen.
Make it happen. So what is your drive? What gets you up in the morning? What's your vision?
Well, as my plaque there says, success is a ladder. You can't climb it with your hands in your pockets, so you got to wake up and you got to work.
And what's your definition of success?
I have a shrewd kind of definition of success. It's not monetary. I think a lot of people associate success with, a monetary, but I look at success with regards to fulfillment of a higher calling.
Okay.
And so, if I'm affecting proper change in people's lives, if I'm helping, whether it's the community or through any church program that I'm involved in, I think that's a level of success. Now, monetarily, can it help you do more? Absolutely.
Yeah. Right?
I'll be the first to say, it takes the backbone of the American entrepreneurial spirit to be able to go out and create jobs and invest in small businesses and
make a difference out there.
Make a difference. Yeah. Exactly. I love the small business owner because they're the backbone of America. And I think the American entrepreneurial system and small business, it's the backbone, right? I started a company when I was in college called Howler. We were the #1 competitor with Groupon for a short period of time. And it was very much a David versus Goliath story. And I mean, you can go read about this on the news. You can go Google it. And one of the things that we faced were we tried to create a technology platform that helped small businesses.
Yeah,
right.
That makes sense.
You know, you have huge e-commerce companies, you have large online retail stores like Amazon or Overstock, or even Walmart with their recent acquisition of buying Jet.com. So that it's really the small business owner. I mean, they make up a very large percentage of the American retail. And if you don't keep that strong, if you drive down the street here, you'll see, strip centers with, 20 and 30 different businesses in them. Those are all small businesses. Each of those businesses probably employ 5 or 10 people, right? So each of those makes up 100 different people. Those paychecks are doing good things for those people. It helps them go to the grocery store and buy groceries. It helps them go out, and it's hard work.
Direct physical impact.
Exact, direct physical impact. And that's the most powerful thing, is a strong middle class. And the more you can do that, the more you can inspire and invest in your community, then that's the best. I think churches do a good job at that. I think certain educational institutions do a good job at that. But it requires a lot of listening and a lot of doing and not a lot of talking.
I like how you keep going back into that. So it's an interesting. No, definitely.
Even though we're on a podcast talking. Right?
No,
it should
I'm
be encouraging
listening.
people to go out and do.
Yeah, no, 100%, which is the point of this entire podcast.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk to the audience about the sacrifices it took to get you here?
Mistakes. I mean, it's going through a lot of mistakes. I don't really regret anything. I'm sure there's a lot of people watching that don't like our current president, but I think he was right in the sense of saying, if you're focused on the regret, that means you're focused on the past, right? And I think you can learn from your past to try to impact a better present.
To improve your...
Exactly. And so I think the most important kind of element to any of that is acknowledging the fact that you have to be open and honest with yourself. You have to know that you're not going to be all things to all people. You have to know that there are going to be people out there that genuinely are not going to like you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Jesus, who was perfect, right, had people that didn't even like
haters.
him.
Yes.
Right? He had haters,
Yes.
right? And even the people that loved him ended up, sending him to death, right? So, when you look at that, right, and I know we've talked about this before, kind of on a, moral calling and everything, but I think that's, it's overcoming, the trials and tribulations that you face. A contract's not going your way. A deal doesn't go your way. You deal with someone, in a system that just wants to come after you for whatever reason. People don't believe in the idea of forgiveness. People don't believe in the idea of supporting other people. They don't believe in turning the other cheek. They don't believe in... There's a lot of people that don't believe, right? Yeah. And that's kind of it's a sad state of affairs, but I think it's a plateau, or not a plateau, but a foundation for people that can say, I do care. Right? I do care about this person. I do care about this company. I do care about making this deal work, because I know the potential positive impact it can have on you, your family, your colleagues, your coworkers, whatever it may be. So I think to directly answer the question on, looking at the past and understanding, okay, acknowledging the fact that you're going to go through situations in a deal or in a contract or in some sort of business, a situation where you're going to run into obstacles. You're going to hit a wall. You're going to run into an obstacle. Someone's not going to call you back. A contract's going to be wrong. There's a lot that can go on. You just have to accept that that's going to happen. And then you've heard the famous saying, right? It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it.
Yes.
Right? Well, there's a lot of truth in that.
Tony Robbins is
right?
a huge thing about.
Yeah.
He speaks a lot about that.
Yeah.
That's definitely the truth behind everything. So how do you take a mistake and turn it into something better for yourself in the future?
So I love this question, right? So the way you do it is acknowledge.
Yeah.
Acknowledge
that you've messed up.
Yeah, acknowledge that you've messed up.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do everything in your power to say, okay, I understand the result that happened, right? Regardless of the mindset you were in at the time when you made the mistake. Because a lot of people, when they make a mistake, they don't realize they're making a mistake.
It just happens.
Right? It just happens, right? And unfortunately,
and that's part of growing.
It's part of growing.
Yeah.
It's part of learning, right? And, when you have that, is to know, A, did you acknowledge it? That's the number one. Acknowledge it, right? admit it, acknowledge it, right?
It's interesting you say that because a lot of people that I've spoken to can't even come to admit the fact
They
that
can't.
yeah.
They can't. It's like,
Ego
look,
is just too high.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like, look, I'm not sitting here trying to say anything. It's like mistakes are gonna happen. Like
We're
it's
human.
gonna happen.
It's in our code. Like we're human. That's just how it is.
You know, if you can show me one person that went through
perfect.
life, right, that never made any mistakes outside of like, Jesus, right? Because I can't think of anybody else,
Yeah.
right? You tell me how they responded to
And
that.
I think honestly, living a life with no mistakes would be boring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where are the experiences? Where are the lessons?
That's the fun part of it.
What are you going to be able to do? You're going to sit down there and talk with someone and say, oh, well, I look at it for my future. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
if in the future, if a kid comes up to me or, I'm having a conversation with a child or something like that, and he says, well, how do I do this? I can say, well, I can tell you what not to do because I can tell you how it affected me.
Yes.
And the decision I made.
And that's the beauty of mentorship.
That's the beauty of mentorship. That's the beauty of having a healthy, family.
Mm-hmm.
I attribute a tremendous amount of my, ability to learn is to talk with, mentorships, father figures, my own family, my mother, my father, and and you learn even the coolest things from kids, right? And I think the perfect definition. And I even avoid looking at the term entrepreneurial, right?
Uh-huh.
I look at the American enterprise system, right?
So what do you call yourself?
I'm a businessman.
A businessman.
I'm a businessman.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a businessman. And with an entrepreneurial spirit, a spirit of vigor,
Okay.
right?
All
Vigor.
right. Yeah.
You need vigor.
Uh-huh.
And I think that when you look at what we have here, it's a spirit of trying to better oneself. Okay. It's interesting. And
Figuring yourself out, is that what it is?
Kind of, but it's like or a dream. You talk about dreams.
Yes.
I always ask this question when I am talking with people because I deal with a lot in international government, international relations. It was part of my educational background. I worked for the Greek consulate for a little bit. I worked for some embassies, consulted with some government entities on an international level, kind of at the prime minister level, parliamentary level in some other countries. Some controversial countries too, might I add. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that I've noticed is even if you go to these other countries, they don't talk about their country's dream. Like if you go to France or Italy or Spain or Japan or China, it's not like, oh, I want the Chinese dream, right? Or I want the French dream, right? It's always the American dream. Right? Have you ever noticed that? It's the American dream, right? It's the American dream.
The system here is created.
What does that mean? The American dream. Why don't we have people here going to Brazil saying, "I want the Brazilian dream"?
It's because of the spirit that goes on over here.
It's exactly right. It's the spirit that goes into it, right?
Entrepreneurial spirit, yes.
And so one of my mentors. He's like an amazing individual in the aviation space, and he's the owner of Avjet here. He always tells me, he says, tenacity beats out intellect every time, right? You can be the smartest person in the room, the wealthiest person in the room, everything, but it will not beat out tenacity. Tenacity beats out intellect every time, and that's the ability that every day you get up, every day you keep trying something, and every day you keep working. Because sooner or later it'll hit, but it'll hit in the timing it's supposed to happen, right? So, and I think that's some of the most, positive things that go on.
Yeah, a mentor of mine told me recently is the way you want to think of it is as long as you just continue and you continue to grind, you continue to work, time and the world will catch up to you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
so it's very interesting. So now, my question to you now is, how do you balance tenacity from aggression?
Well,
do you understand what I mean? Like, how do you make sure that you're continuously doing what you have to do, but you're not over? Do you think there's a boundary where you might overdo it? Maybe to be a little too harsh with everyone around you, the people you work with?
Oh, I definitely think that when you're in a zone, that I think that someone. They always say this: one man's trash is another man's treasure. Right. Well, I think sometimes one man's ambition is someone else's offense.
Huh. Have you dealt that with them
of
before?
course. People hate me.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, I have half of the population that loves me and half of the population that loves me. I feel like I'm a politician at times, right? You got to walk this tightrope, right?
Yeah.
And even though I work in the political sphere and in the corporate sphere, right? A lot of my colleagues that are in like kind of a government space have to act one way, and a lot of people that are in the business realm act another way, and it's a fine line because at times I can be so like stone cold to the truth that it's offensive to someone.
Huh. Okay.
But that person is like, well, oh, we don't like his attitude, we don't like the way he conducts himself, he's too brash, he's too hard, and I look at it, it's like, but you're only looking at it through the lens of yourself.
You're looking at it from your own perspective. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not looking at it, what's the situation. And that's why when I deal with a lot of people, I always address it through the mind or through the lens of, I don't know what's going on in your life.
Okay.
I'm only looking at the situation.
How do you make
Right?
that clear? Do you just straight up say it, or?
No. I do it internally. And I always say, like, depending on the situation, depending on the deal negotiation, depending on the elements involved, there's a lot that goes into it. That's why I don't think there's any class you can take on negotiation. I don't think there's any class that you can take on this stuff.
You kind of have to just create your own custom map, right?
What works for you?
Yeah.
Every person is different,
Uh-huh.
right? You know, the DNA that you have is clearly different than the DNA I have, is clearly different than the DNA that, you know, the next person to walk in this room will have.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if you're true to yourself and you find what works for you, understanding the basic premise of whatever you're trying to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
complete, leads you to, you know, maybe a better close or a better negotiation.
So understanding
practice
the end product.
Right, but I think going back to the original question is, can it be offensive? Can that ambition turn into aggression?
Yeah.
I think yes. I mean, I think it can, and I think it happens all the time, right? You know, I look at like my younger brother, right?
Uh-huh.
We're working. He was interning in the aviation space over the summer, and you know he's finishing his undergraduate degree, and you know even people will say about him, you know, his ambition is sometimes comes across as aggression.
Okay.
Because he's so motivated to get something done, right?
Yeah.
That no matter what, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. But that's aggressive to most people.
And do you think it comes off offensive because of jealousy?
I think lack of understanding.
Lack of understanding of who you are as a person, or what you're doing, or what the goal
I think it's a combination of it.
Okay.
I don't have the secret formula to wave the magic wand and say this is why this person feels this way.
Because the last time I asked someone about this, they told me that you're going to have two haters in life. The people that A, used to like you, but now they don't like the fact that you've succeeded. And B, people who just have nothing better to do, so they just hate on you.
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. People will hate just to hate.
Yeah.
Right? And that's I always say that gossip is the generic form of all human discourse. Right? And you know, when you understand the idea that people like talking about people, right? I have a problem with that. Because it's like, I don't spend my time talking about people. I spend my time talking about ideas. I spend my time talking with people about how to better themselves, how to grow, how to create, you know, an environment or a society shaped in and around a narrative of bettering people, right? Not in the sense of self-motivation, but in the sense of policy prescriptions that can help a society, a nation, a county, a country, a culture, right? And by creating a narrative that helps navigate a society or a group of people or a particular class, right, to a better self, right, or a better standing in society. And I think that's huge.
Completely different conversations from what usual people have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's famous sayings out there. You can go quote them all,
Yeah.
but I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it's they say average people talk about something, above average people talk about ideas or whatever the saying is. But
you are who you surround yourself with.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I always say, you know, people always, it's like self-help, right? I read one book to help me with the self-help side of things, and that's my moral compass, and that's the Bible. Outside of that, there are other good books out there that you can read, and I don't take that away from anyone, but I know it works for me, right? I know it works for me. So, and
Are you a reader?
What?
Do you like reading books?
I love reading, but I read a lot of, I read a lot of autobiographies. I don't read a lot of the self-help. I read a tremendous amount of biographies, autobiographies, because I like learning about what people have been through, right?
Interesting way of putting it.
I like learning and understanding what people have gone through. Like if you look at one of the best negotiators of our time, Adnan Khashoggi, right? He was one of the largest, and brilliant negotiators. If you look at Kirk Kerkorian, a brilliant casino mogul, brilliant real estate investor, brilliant aviation specialist. I mean, worked with everyone, negotiated the property for Wynn. I mean, there's tremendous amounts of things you can learn from, people.
Yes, and their stories.
Exactly. And so, self-help guides and like the 10 ways to do this and the 8 ways to do that, I just wake up and work every day. It's like what you said in the beginning. And so, and I'm not at the success level I want to be at. I'll be the first to tell you, right? I'm out hustling every single day. And I think
it's Labor Day and we're over here.
We're working. We're working. After this I got meetings.
Yeah.
So, I don't go around, it's always but I look at it with joy.
You love what you do.
I look at it with joy. It's like, you know what? Whether it's volunteering at a soup kitchen, right, or trying to close a deal, or trying to get someone to respond to an email, I enjoy it, right? Because I know that what I can take from there, I can immediately give back to my family, to my community, to people that actually need it, right? And I think that that's very important. But I want to go back real quick to something you said about, kind of the internal, working. And there's a really great analogy that I like, right? And it's kind of like this kind of imagery. So if you go with me for a second.
Yeah.
If you want a better world, it has to be comprised of better countries, right?
Okay.
If you want better countries, they have to be comprised of better states, right?
Uh-huh.
If you want better states, they have to be comprised with kind of better counties, right? Or
better cities.
Right. And if you want better counties, they have to be
better people.
Comprised of better, right, exactly,
people, right?
Culture or like, counties. And if you want better counties, they got to be made of better cities. And if you want better cities, they have to be made of better neighborhoods. And if they have better neighborhoods, they need to be comprised of better homes. And if you want a better home, right, you got to have a better, family. If you want a better family, it starts with being a better you, right? So if you...
I like how you took that
down.
Yeah,
if you look internally and you say, okay, when I wake up today, I'm going to try to be, better to my family, which is going to in fact make my family be better to the neighborhood. That neighborhood's going to be better to the city. That city's going to be better to the county. That county's going to be better to the state. That state's going to be better to the country. That country's going to be better to the world.
You're looking at the much bigger picture.
Yeah,
the impact
exactly.
you have as an individual.
Exactly, as an individual.
Which usually people don't think about.
They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that.
Why do you think that's an issue with society?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Okay. I have ideas. I have thoughts. I think a lot of people don't.
You can get deep with this. Throw them at me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of people, from a just from a personal brand or a personal idea, they're losing direction, right? They don't
losing direction of what?
Like what their purpose is or why they're here. Right? I mean, it's the age-old, and I don't want to turn this into a philosophy conversation, but it's the age-old question. Why am I here? What is life about? Right? What is success?
What's my purpose?
What is my purpose? Right? And then you have people that write books, A Purpose-Driven Life, right? A Purpose in Success. And you have books, right? Think and Grow Rich. Like all these books that come out, right? But yet, none of the questions seem to be answered.
Why don't you answer them for me? What's your purpose?
My purpose?
Yeah.
My purpose is to first learn and then earn and then serve. So my purpose is to help other people get to where they want to go, not where I'm supposed to go.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's how you grow.
It's my purpose is helping other people get to where they want to go, because that'll in turn get me where I'm supposed to go.
By you doing that, it'll take you where you're supposed to go.
If I help someone with a piece of advice to help their company or their community or their church group or whatever, then you know what? I feel that I'm.
Are you a man of faith?
Absolutely, extreme faith.
And do you think that having faith in your life can define your purpose and make it more clear?
I think it develops a path, a moral compass.
And would you say society is losing sight of that, which is why they don't know what their purpose is?
I think absolutely. I mean, I look at it like, a lot of the reasons we're in the problems that we're in is because of the lack of faith that people have, right? I'm not talking about religion. That's not what I'm talking about.
Faith in
I'm talking about faith, right? in your higher calling, in your higher being, and in whatever it may be. I think faith takes, a level of faith, right? Faith takes a level of faith, right? And that faith helps drive and determine how you should be in society, right? I think, my faith drives me, my moral compass drives me in such a way that it allows people a little bit of hope of inspiration, knowing that like the whole situation may look dim, right? But there's light at the end of the tunnel. Just keep trying.
I think humans are selfish nowadays.
They're extremely selfish.
I think that's the biggest issue, is that humans are super selfish, and all they look at is themselves, and they don't want to believe that there's something that's unseen out there, like a higher call, a higher power that even exists, because to them, they are what they think they are. And I think that's our biggest issue in society, is because of that, we don't actually give ourselves the time to look at what's actually going on outside and how we can have an impact, like you said.
Yeah.
How it all starts within yourself, where you're impacting a whole world.
Yeah, I just say,
it's all connected.
I think we misunderstand the power of the word love, right? People say, I love what I do, right? I love this cup of coffee, right? It's like, no, you like this cup of coffee. You love your fellow man, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a misalignment of assignment of priorities, right? And I think people don't understand the priority that they may have in a cultural situation, right? I think a lot of people are out looking to see me. It's me. Watch me. Look at me. Watch me.
Especially with social media today.
Well, especially with social media today, right? And look at what we're doing.
Podcast.
We're on a podcast, right? We're on a great podcast, because at least someone out there can watch this and they can say, well, maybe there's a glimpse of inspiration, right? And, if they see people, I can tell you, if you sit down with the majority of successful people that I've sat down with and have had just simple conversations over coffee, no cameras, no nothing, just simple conversations, right? You would be shocked at the number of them that have gone through serious trials and tribulations, and they've gone through serious, problems, and they've had to overcome those problems, and the majority of society would never know that they went through those problems.
I love problems. I enjoy them. I actually it's funny, because I used to be so hard on myself when I was younger. I used to victimize myself a lot. I used to say, why does the world hate me specifically?
Right.
I was selfish. I'm not going to lie. And I've grown to learn how to be more selfless and kind of help people and help society and give instead of asking. And so one thing for me was huge. It was just a matter of just putting myself out there, completely just destroying my ego, just saying, listen, I'm new to this. I'm new to whatever I'm doing, and just admitting the fact that, as you said, for example, when we're talking about mistakes, admitting the fact that if I make a mistake, I made it. If I don't know something, I don't know it. And I'm only here to learn and grow. And I think that, at least from my perspective, I'm obviously still growing, I'm still learning, but I think that's a huge key to succeeding in life. It's just a matter of just, as you said, listening more, talking less.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the majority of people that are out there, I think in this space, and by this space I mean the business world, right? Yeah. Regardless of what it's in. There's a company that we work with called Elixicure. It's a pain relief roll-on. It's the world's greatest pain relief. This lowers your, it actually raises your credit score. This is the world's greatest. It's the world's greatest pain medicine out there. It's a topical roll-on. We have everyone from athletes to pro surfers to you name it. Just top of the top athletes, whether it's top of Olympic martial arts people using this, and the founders are brothers, and we've worked with them pretty extensively, and in companies you make mistakes, but it's when you overcome that leads to growth.
Yeah.
And so when we work with these companies, like this one in particular, which their stuff is amazing. They help increase. You put on this painkiller. It helps this Elixicure roll on or the lotion. Score. It helps your credit score. Yeah. It increases your the value of your home.
Makes your wallet bigger.
Yeah, it makes your wallet bigger. Absolutely. There are so many benefits outside of just the health benefits of this product. It's a superior product.
Guys, this isn't a paid advertisement.
It's not a paid advertisement. No, it comes straight from the heart. Yeah. It's a paid passion announcement. So. But no, I think, like you said, I think a lot of people, their stuff and the way they set up their organization, I use this as an example, is they're trying to better society, right, through a good all-natural product. But I think a lot of people don't look at industries that way. So
how do you think they look at it? Like
large corporate greed,
money driving
just
machines.
money driving, and I don't.
Do you think some entrepreneurs just only care about that?
100%.
Okay.
I could list several people that I know, which I won't, that all they care about is the dollar. Flat out. All I care about is money.
And are those people happy in life?
I don't know what happiness is to them, but probably not. I mean, it's I always say, I think happiness is relative. I mean, I was in Haiti 2 weeks after the earthquake in Port-au-Prince, when that big earthquake happened.
Yeah.
Okay? And I can tell you that I single-handedly met with families, right, that lost everything. Already poor people, right? And they were content and completely happy because they had each other.
Love. Yeah.
Love.
Yep.
So when you look at it like that, my question to the entrepreneur, and my question to the majority of investors in Silicon Valley, quite frankly, is I understand the definition of a corporation is to provide shareholder value, right? I know all this, right? I'm a big Milton Friedman fan. I can tell you all about this stuff, right? I speak economics on a daily basis. And so at the end of the day, I understand what it takes to make something for X and sell it for Y, basic business practice. But it's tangible goods that are being created, not information, not talking heads, none of that, but like actual content that's being produced, real content that drives real economic changes, right? Housing, infrastructure, real estate. I mean, you name it, like actual things that can, provide a goods and a service, right? And so I think that a lot of the people that and entrepreneurs today are driven by the dollar because they equate the dollar to happiness. The more dollars I have, the happier I am.
Yeah, and what's interesting? A religious leader that I know told me something which hit me. Maybe like some people may not agree with this, but from my belief in religion, It was just huge. It was a matter of like true happiness is when you put your happiness in the Lord above.
Sure.
Because He is the only long-lasting, ultimate living, never dying thing that if you put your heart love to it, will never betray you. You put your heart in money, you can lose money.
Yeah.
You put your heart even in family. I mean, here's the interesting part. I know this is sensitive, but even in family, I mean, I had the privilege of growing in a very supportive family, but some people don't have that.
I know your dad, great guy.
Yeah,
great guy, very supportive.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, so like a lot of people don't have that though, and so that leader was telling me like you need to seriously, for you to be really happy, is just have, which is why we go back to faith.
Faith, yeah.
It's a big factor, just continuously having that drive. It's why I do what I do every single day. It's why I wake up every single morning.
Right.
It's my vision connects with my faith. 100%.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't talk about the depression, the social anxiety, the ability to, am I good enough?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, when I go around, even now, and talk to people, whether it's schools, or small groups or things like that, it's amazing the level of depression, hurt, and anxiety that exists in America today. I think it's tremendous, and I think that the overall kind of landscape of emotional maturity is unbelievable to me, right? It's unbelievable to me. And I think that when you look at society and you see the lack of faith that society has, even in fellow man, right? That's why it's like if someone wrongs me, right? And it's been done a lot because I look for the good in people, right? And
unfortunately, not everyone does it.
Not everybody does it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've heard the saying, like, screw me once, shame on me, screw me twice, shame on you, all whatever the saying is. At the end of the day, I'm going to understand that people are people, right? You're going to mess up, you're going to make a mistake, you're going to do something you probably shouldn't do, right? But, what are you going to learn from it? And then what are you doing to correct it, right? And people are so money driven that they'll take the shirt off your back. And you know what's amazing is when you can offer someone the shirt off your back, right? And they're like, no, I don't want it. Because they're so driven. Like, they're so, like, do you see what I'm saying?
They get blinded.
They get blinded by their own.
It's like, here, if you ask me, I'll give it to you, but they end up taking routes that just make no sense.
Even when you mess up. Even when you mess up and you try to, like, right or wrong, people don't, they want to make sure, Adam, I only know you when you made a mistake. I remember you back, 5 years ago, you made a mistake. You're a mistake maker. All you do is make mistakes.
Oh, they look at it as a negative. Like,
yeah.
Okay, what about the other things?
What about the other things? What about all the times that you helped me? What about all the times that you did this? What about all the times? Forget it. Nobody cares about that, right? You make one mistake and it's Adam the mistake maker, right? It's baloney to me.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with people today, right? They don't want to look at the good in someone, right? They want to point out the negative.
And that's because it fills the holes they have in themselves.
The only reason they're doing that, it's their own insecurity.
Yeah.
That's why I'm blessed every day. I'm blessed. I have a wonderful mother and father. I have a very supportive brother and sister. And, I try to make sure that the purpose that I do, that, one of the purposes I have is to make sure that I'm inspiring my younger brother and sister, right? Not mass amounts of people, right? Just my brother and sister to say, look, if a mistake was made, this is what I did, right? This is the mistake that was made. Don't make this mistake, right? Learn from me, right? Because I love you.
And that's beautiful. That's really nice that you have that.
Like when you have that, it's brilliant. Same thing with a father to a son or a mother to a daughter,
yeah.
Right? And then when you look at culture, think about the cultural effect that could have if you applied that in a policy prescription that could help a nation live to a more peaceful nation. Right now, we live in a divided society, right? You have Republicans and Democrats, elephants and donkeys, people on either side of the aisle, right? You go out and, our president could walk out and, order vanilla ice cream and there would be a whole group of society that doesn't like him eating white ice cream, right?
Yep, and it's sad because today you see people from the same society fighting with each other.
Exactly.
It's gotten that bad where it's like your neighbor is now starting to fight with you, and it's like over what? Exactly.
And I think that there's a chance that in society today, and I always look at this, most people don't look at this, every major war that was ever fought was fought by technically the millennials of the time, right? 18 to 23, right? And if you were 23 years old during World War II, you were one of the older guys, right? Every major war that's ever been fought has been fought by kids, basically. Kids, right? Which means every major change that's happened throughout a society in history has been made by young people.
The millennials of that time.
Right?
Yeah.
The quote, millennials of that time, right? So as a member of the millennial of my time, right, as the young generation of my time, what can I do to help bring a better cultural narrative to drive better business, better relationship building, better, collaboration in your community? What can be done? And I think that's the thing. And I think it starts by, looking at yourself and saying, okay, what can I do in my business every day when I wake up to move it forward? And then when I get the resources that I need, which will come one day, right, when the timing is correct, then I can pay it forward.
Beautiful.
But until then, got to keep working, got to stay focused. And then when, it's like the age-old saying, when the student is ready, the master will appear, right? When the people are ready, the change will happen.
People are interesting. I love that. So now what's the advice you would say for people that don't have the family support that you, fortunately, in your life had?
I'm blessed. So I think that, it's hard because I have some very dear, close people to me that did not grow up with a mother and a father, right? Or a mother and a father that were there.
Yeah, I don't even know how I would react to something like that.
Yeah,
I was blessed, 100%.
And it's I can't relate to certain situations. Yeah. I can't relate to it, right? But what I can do, or advice I would give is, there are people, there's always this goes back to the faith. There's a friend that sticks closer than a brother, right? And so I think when people can identify that situation, that, you know, there is a friend that sticks closer to you than a brother, and you can find that tranquility and that solitude and go through the, you know, trials and tribulations and be there and be a support system. It comes back to that faith walk, right? I would be very vulnerable if I were to tell you that, you know, I've seen you talk with other people and they've kind of opened up a little bit, and, you know, because it's you, I say this stuff, right? I would not tell this to most people, but when you understand the higher calling that you have, there are times of severe depression and anxiety and stress that go into, you know, being so hard on yourself that, you know, not suicidal in the sense, but like, as you said, like I'm so hard on myself because something didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't go my way. And even if there are elements out of your control, and that happens to me all the time, elements out of my control all the time, but sometimes I take personal responsibility for that, because at some point the buck stops here. You know, like it stops with you. So, you know, it's like the captain goes down with the ship. It wasn't the captain's fault, right? But he still goes down with the ship. It takes a level of resilience for, you know, a leader or, you know, a businessman or an entrepreneur or you know, some sort of public figure to be able to take the brutal, negative aggression that society, by nature, will go after. They're going to go after you. Yeah. They're going to come after me. They're going to go rest of the people.
And that's exactly why I asked you this question, because I try to wipe off every excuse any viewer may have. Because I'm pretty sure there might be a viewer out there, and I was like, oh yeah, it's easy for him to say it's sitting in front of a private jet, having a supportive family. Yeah, successes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's why I was
But then I could turn around to that person and say, you don't know me.
Yes.
You don't know the struggles I get up with every single morning.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Like,
yeah.
You know, whether it's deaths in the family, whether it's, you know, financial hardship, whether it's, you know, emotional or health hardship, you have no idea, right? It's a nice background. It's a nice backdrop. But to get there, you know, you're sitting there watching a video.
Yeah.
Why are you watching the video? Oh, because maybe there's something else out there, right? Yeah. You're trying to better yourself. So what's going on there, right? That's the pot calling the kettle black. And that's why, you know, I always say, you know, opinions are like eyeballs. Everybody's got them, right?
Yep.
There's an R-rated version of that, which I won't get into for this viewing audience. But no, I mean, it's true. You know, I mean, I was on CBS and KCAL here on the news talking last year about the travel ban, right? Said we're going to stop. We've talked about this, right?
Yes.
Because you're Muslim, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm a Christian, right? So there was a Muslim ban put on people coming into this, right?
I mean, I'm Syrian too.
Yeah, Syrian. From
my
Syria.
grandma can't even come here.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
She got denied so many times.
Right. But what does that say to society when I can sit down and have a dialogue with you? Do I want to go to war with you?
No.
Do you want to go to war with me?
Dude, much love to you.
Exactly.
No.
So if that right there alone can show that I have no problem saying what I am, and you have no problem saying what you are, and we can coexist peacefully.
And we both try to take pride in it too.
You know, I like that. I like being able to say that. And the problem is most people will never sit down and have that dialogue, and they will never listen.
You see, for me, it just doesn't make any sense because I've never had that.
Yeah.
Like, never in my head have I ever walked down the street and looked at someone and been like, I'm better.
But there are tremendous number of people that do.
And it's surprising to me. It's very, and honestly, I do 100%, you know, credit my own mother for this. Like, she has raised me to always look at the positive side of things. I was homeschooled for 8 years of my life.
Yeah.
And so I was very sheltered from just society. And it's funny because I remember when I went into college, it was like a huge slap in the face because I just trusted the whole world. I thought the world was just, you know, balloons, greatness, happiness, all this stuff. And turned out it wasn't.
Yeah.
And it was a huge slap for me. But I didn't take that in a sense where I was like, okay. And I think that's where actually depression comes from too.
Well, I think depression is, I think there are levels of depression. You know, I think a dog gets depressed every time its owner leaves the house, right? You know, so, but I think depression comes, I mean, I've suffered from it tremendously, you know, not in a negative way, but like in a reflecting way, because, you know, it's like you want things to happen, things don't happen, or something like
I
that.
think
and then
entrepreneurs suffer through depression all the time, anxiety all the time.
I think it's people that want to create something. Creators want to create, and that's what I love about having a culture that can create, right? Because if you can create a culture that can create, you can create a culture that's going to collaborate and create, and then create a change, right? And it'll be a positive change because it's creation, right? It's ideation. It's like creativity, right? You have to think this up. You have to create the ambiance. You have to create the setting, right? It's I like my sister. She's a beautiful painter. She painted this Time magazine cover, right? And she creates, right? She's a creative. And
it's a nice piece.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And the other artwork she does is fantastic, right? But that's what I look at when I look at whether it's our president's business card on my wall, or Sugar Ray, the famous boxer, Marco Rubio, or former presidential candidates and things that I've met, and speechwriters, and what they all have in common is they've all created something. Yeah, that's me.
You look like you've gained 20 years from that.
I know. The grays are setting in. The conversations get bigger.
Salt and pepper going for you, too.
I know. I've been told to embrace the grays, so I'm embracing the grays. I'm trying. So I have a good lady that helps style me to make sure keeps me clean, keeps me on the straight and narrow. So no, but at the end of the day, I think that when you look at a culture and you look at the idea that entrepreneurs or business people, or just that spirit of drive that someone would have, comes into play when they're given an environment for success.
An environment for success. When they're given
an environment for success. If I say, so imagine for a second that you want to start a business. If the right rules, if the right regulations, if the right government kind of rules are there, if the correct oversight is there, those are all the tools or the recipe or the environment for you to now go work to try to succeed, right? So if that's there, I think tremendous growth can happen, right, with people when they're given the right environment.
And that's why people talk about the American dream.
That's why people talk about the American dream, because of the system. We've slowly seen that, but it's starting to come back, right? Yes. We're starting to see it come back. We're seeing, the market is at an all-time high. We're seeing, a total run under this current administration that we've never seen before in the history. We're seeing jobs pour back into this country at a rapid rate that we've never seen before. We're seeing corporations come back here. And what does that lead to? Greater innovation, greater creativity, greater manufacturing. These are the backbones of what allow the small business entrepreneur to go out and do something. It allows you to go sit down and talk with an owner of a manufacturing company, and that manufacturer will say, because of the rules and the regulations that this administration put in, I was able to hire 100 more people. Those are 100 more people getting 100 more paychecks that can now, buy 100 more groceries for their family, right? Or, so when you look at that level and that scalability that can happen, that comes with understanding how to hire, how to fire, how to build an infrastructure, how to create, things that a basic business has, right? It's a lot less talking and it's a lot more doing.
Right? Take action, yep.
Take action, right? And so, I've been asked to, write books and talk and stuff like that, and they say, what's your best advice? And I always go back, I say, I only have one piece of advice. It's you wake up and you work. That's it.
It's really simple.
And you work.
The formula to success, quote unquote, I don't think it's complicated.
It's not. You wake up and you work.
It's not rocket science.
No. You wake up and you work.
Yep, that's it.
You wake up and you work. I mean, you have to understand, I always give this analogy because I love it. Most people don't. It's like I use the Wright brothers because they were bicycle mechanics, right? And then they created, at Kitty Hawk, they created, the Wright brothers, first flying machine, right? Yep. And then I love the idea of engineering and creativity and manufacturing and business and innovation, right? From a high tech to, a basic manufacturing where you're making something that's providing a service or providing
changing the world.
Whatever, right? Whatever.
Look at social media today. The impact it has is ridiculous.
And exactly as a platform to get a message or a product down.
Yeah.
Right? Right? Now, I think that, if you get into the whole social media thing, There's a lot of debate that goes on there with what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's the platform. I mean, even now with politics being brought into, and I deal with governments, right? I mean, I've chartered several political figures, right? It's what we do. I'm very heavily involved in the political system. I believe it's my, fiduciary responsibility and right as an American to be involved in the political process.
It's interesting to me. So you see what you do as a thing that you need to be doing.
I have to.
You have to do
Who
it.
else is going to do it?
Huh. I like that. Yeah.
There's only one of me out of 7 billion plus people on this earth, so someone's got to do it, and so it might as well be me.
It's funny because long time ago I saw this video of this experiment. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not. It actually got viral. Of this guy who acted like he was dying on the streets. He was homeless.
Sure.
Okay. And the homeless guy, they put him in a very populated area, and they saw how many people would call 911. And out of, I think there was like 500 people in that area. It was very, very packed. And out of those 500, like they got like 2 or 3 phone calls. And then now they took that same concept with someone who was dressed nicely, looked good, groomed well. Same thing. You had a bunch of people stop by, make sure he was okay.
Perception's reality.
Perception is reality. And another thing they did was they put that same homeless guy in an area now where, and this is my point to this, in an area where it was kind of empty. So it's like less than 10 people. They actually got almost 50% of the people to call.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because what you just said right now, who else is going to do it? That mentality us humans we have, it's like, oh, if there's a bunch of people, he'll probably do it. He'll probably do it.
Right, but
he'll take care of it.
But here's the difference, right? You say, okay, well, what is the difference between, your mindset, right? We use the term mindset, right? Or motivation or moral compass or whatever term you want to put onto it. I'll debate anybody, right? Are you looking for it or are you not looking for it? If I'm walking down the street, am I actively aware of my surroundings to see who I can help? Or am I so blinded by what I'm doing that I don't care?
Huh. And you try to stay aware of what's going on.
So I always look at, how can I help someone? How can I help someone? If I have the ability to help someone, then I'll absolutely help them. That's just in my nature, right? It's how I was raised. It's part of my cultural DNA. It's part of my cultural heritage. It's part of the conversations that I have. It's how can I help you, right? It's one of the best guys that I like. He's now since passed, and he's probably one of the only quote motivational speakers that I would have listened to, and that is listen to. And he was actually a Sunday school teacher for the Reverend Billy Graham, one of the most famous pastors in the world, right? Advised many presidents, and he had a very interesting piece of advice, very Zig Ziglar, and he always said, if you can help other people get to where they want to go, you'll get to where you are supposed to go, meaning you the individual, right? I may want to go be an NFL star, right? I may want to go, be a receiver for the Patriots and be able to catch a ball from Tom Brady. That's my drive. I'm going to wake up every day. I'm going to go do the 10,000-hour rule or whatever other baloney people talk about, right? But at the end of the day, it's not in my DNA.
It's not what you're meant to do.
It's not what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
Right? What I was meant to do is, obviously be in the business world, right? To be in international relations, to talk with,
to have direct impact on people.
Exactly.
Yep.
To help create an environment for the person that does have the talent and the DNA to go be the receiver for the Patriots and catch a ball from Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback who has ever lived. Shout
out my boy.
Shout out Tom. Tell Giselle I said hello. But at the end of the day, I think it's very important when you have that outlook on life, right? If a friend of mine says, Hunter, I need help with something, I'm absolutely going to say, sure, what is it? And if it's within my effort and within my time and I can do it, then of course I'm going to help them.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter who it is, right? It's in my nature. It's in my DNA.
And you know what's funny? Full disclosure, my man. When I first met you, so a little bit of background, guys. We met, how long ago was this?
Oh, a year.
Has it been a year?
Over a year now? Yeah, probably.
Time flies.
Yeah.
So we met, let's say, a year ago, and what was at that time, like, I started this whole entrepreneurship thing 2 years ago. So I
Yeah.
was kind of like a year in, still
Starting
very
a company
new.
with your dad.
Yeah, exactly. So it was still new, still going. I'm still learning till today. There's every single day that I'm learning.
Yeah, it's learning.
It's every day. But what's funny is, growing up, people have this perception that successful people are not there to help, or are not, or they're inaccessible, or it's like, oh, like, like celebrities. Like, we look at celebrities like, oh, I personally don't at all.
Sure,
but
sure.
Most population look at celebrities as like literally a different society, like as if they're
Sure.
aliens or something. And it was very interesting and shocking to me how much we were willing to help me.
Right.
And I'm gonna be very honest with you. I went home that day when we first met. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like, and it was a huge lesson that I learned. Was it's interesting because if someone like that is willing to give, to help, to do anything possible in his power, to help someone like me, which I just met the guy, I just got to know, and I started to dig into the whys and where and what it is, and that lesson that I learned was just a matter of exactly this whole podcast, this whole episode's about. You find your purpose by helping others.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. I mean, I look at it like, some people would say to me, I work an extreme amount, like probably more so than a lot of people, right? And, my mind is always running, it's always working, and, even in talking with your dad and you and seeing the kind of the software company that you guys are building and all of that, it's very inspiring stuff, because it's like, that'll grow. You'll go hire 10 people, right? They'll be paid. They'll make money. They're going to contribute to society. That's how you build it. That helps contribute to a strong middle class. Now, if you have hundreds of people like you that are out there, think of the impact that you can have. It's a multiplier, right? So now imagine you're in a situation now to where you're seeing policies that are coming into place that make it difficult for you and your dad to go start a business. And then the money you work so hard for, right? What happens to it? Half goes to the government. Like, well, wait a second. What are they doing to help? Nothing, right? So that's why when you look at it, if you can, that's why I look at it from a much more higher level, from a government perspective, is because most people don't understand that. They say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to go start a business. Boom, here I go. Welcome to the real world, right? Because now you are contributing in a society that goes to part of every paycheck, right? Goes to, most people don't think about this. How does your grandmother get, her Social Security? How does she get her Medicare? How does she get your Medicaid? This goes into our healthcare system. It goes into our underlying bottom line for the overall health of our society. How are we paying doctors? How are we doing that? Even in the transportation business, right? It's not outside. I mean, I like big airplanes, right? So you look at the Boeings, you look at the Airbuses, you look at any of the larger Bombardier companies that are making their big, large aircrafts. And the little Gulfstreams and things are nice, right? And it's great. But the people that have these are the people that have companies that are driving tremendous amounts of wealth creation, in our country and around the globe, that's building cities, it's building hospitals, and this, right, may be some sort of luxurious, look at me, I have an airplane, but I look at it as this is a business tool for people that need to get places quicker, faster, to enact better change, right? I mean, think about that, right?
Faster,
Just think about the narrative
I
switch,
get what you're saying,
right?
Yeah.
And it's hard for some people because they're like, well, wait a second, perception is reality, right? We have a guy with a lot of money on, the side of the street. Something happens to him, everybody calls 911. You have a homeless guy. Society's first reaction is, well, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Then I challenge people to say, why don't you wake up tomorrow, you've lost everything, right? Something happens to you on the side of the street.
And look how you feel when people ignore you. Yeah.
Right? So if you reverse the psychological nature of viewership, right? What is the viewership
I love the way
of your life?
I love the way you explain that. Your business is impacting leaders to help make a difference faster. Pretty much. That's how you'd explain
I
it.
mean, it's a business tool for a
Yes.
lot of the people that we work with. It is a business tool, right? So a lot of people, they look at, oh, well, they fly private, they fly private, they fly private. It's like, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they get up every day and they work.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, do you like Dove soap? Do you like, you know, any thing when you go to a grocery store? Think of the infrastructure that goes on, you know, through a grocery store. And if something happens and an executive's got to get from point A to point B, if he does not get there, that could directly impact the experience of the consumer. I mean, think about that, right? I mean, you deal with nation states, right? I mean, if you have family in New York and you live in Los Angeles, or you have family in, you know, like where I'm at in Florida, in Melbourne, great city, big defense contracting industry, you know, there's technology innovation that go into supporting aircraft, right? That help get people from point A to point B to go see their families, to go see their friends, to go see their, you know, their loved ones, right? Military, we deploy troops, right? How are we getting there? We're not putting them on the slow boat, right? You know, and some people's like, oh, it's a luxury. Absolutely, it's a luxury. Ask any of my sports clientele. They love it, right? They love it. They absolutely love to fly private. Any of my DJ guys that I fly around, any of those guys, I book all their charter, you know, and I'll tell you, they love to fly this way. You ever get onto an airplane, you'll never want to fly any other way, right? Because it's the amount of luxury, it's the amount of attention to detail that goes into something, right? And full disclosure, we give you more than 2 bags of peanuts when you get onto it.
Yeah, so if you guys ever want to fly private, hit this boy up over here.
Exactly.
Yeah, sounds
exactly.
good. Well, anyways, man, so we're going to wrap it up over here. It was
Okay.
great talking to you.
Adam,
But
anytime. I look
I
forward
have
to
one
it.
question for you. You're
All
in
right.
the tech space, right?
I am in the tech
Let's
space.
leave people in a cliffhanger.
Okay.
Are you ready for this? Do you think AI will actually cause people to lose jobs in the future?
So I've actually given a talk on this exact subject, and maybe
Is there any way we can check this talk out somewhere?
we will, or maybe I can come back on and we'll have this conversation.
Yeah.
So, but I think, just to give a little tidbit, I think that yes,
Yes.
absolutely,
Just that. Okay.
yeah.
Let's keep it at that. Let's keep it yes, and then we'll have we can film another episode and talk about this.
Innovation, right, will require some sort of elimination.
Innovation will require elimination. Huh. I like that. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, hey, thank you so much
Adam,
for
thank
being
you.
on
I
the show.
appreciate
Thank you
it,
so
man.
much. Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Take care, man.
Definitely. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. If you guys enjoyed, please remember to leave a like, comment, what you guys thought of it, you know, just your thoughts. And always, as I say, if you guys have any guests you'd like to see on the show, just let me know down below in the comments. Also, remember to subscribe to keep up for our upcoming episodes. You guys will definitely enjoy what's coming next. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Okay, one more thing. Can we put a cut in here?
Yeah,
Put my
what's up?
website
Yeah,
thing.
go for it. Yeah,
My
go.
website thing. Okay, so it's for charter. It's huntergaylor.com/fly. We have a lot of content coming out. You have another podcast that you're going to be doing with a friend of mine.
Yes.
Right? A very
Yes.
close friend of mine. We're in business together, so that'll be a cool conversation to have.
Okay.
And then stay tuned to huntergaylor.com because we're going to have a ton of stuff coming about new business ventures, things like that are
Definitely,
coming
yeah.
out.
Yeah, guys, check it out. His episode.
And if you want, go follow at Avjet Global. It's our sales side, so you'll see some cool pictures. Avjet.
Right there.
Right?
Avjet Global, guys. Yep.
Yep. And then share it with all of your rich uncles. So,
Definitely. So, yeah, you guys heard the man. So, go check him out. And anything else you'd like to add on?
nope. It's all
All right.
good, man. Thanks.
All right, cool. So, there we go. So, we're going to cut it from here. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys later. Peace. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you guys enjoyed what Hunter had to share with all of you out there, remember to smash that like button and let us know down below in the comments if you have any specific guests you'd like for us to get on the show. We would be happy to accommodate that for you. And finally, remember to subscribe to keep up with all the amazing content that's coming up soon. I am so stoked to be sharing it with all of you out there. And without further ado, it's your boy Adam, signing out.